Shut up and sit down.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Fight for Liberty show. Today, we are sitting down again with one of my favorite guests from the original series, member of the Libertarian National Committee, mother of 4 amazing children, and maker of badass eggnog, wonderful Miss Valerie Sarwark. Valerie, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Hi, thank you, David. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. It's like I just said, it's been an interesting year so far, right?
Right.
But how are things going up in New Hampshire? I heard that you moved since the last time I saw you, correct?
Yeah, we moved like a mile and a half away. But
oh, nice.
A much more spacious house. It's
Nice.
almost 100 years old, and we have done a ton of work to it. We redid all the floors ourselves because refinishing floors is like thousands of dollars. And we had the time, so we did it, but I never ever want to do it again. So we are almost done painting the entire inside. Every single room had to be painted. The people that lived here before us they didn't take care of anything. And we're getting our wood stove installed tomorrow. And it's like the warmest day of January tomorrow.
Nice.
So perfect timing.
There we go.
Yeah, no, we're settling in good. The kids are in school. They've been, I keep telling everybody, you know how I felt about homeschooling. I told you when you visited us. Not my favorite. But
Nope.
The kids are at this awesome charter school, and they've been in person since Labor Day, and they're doing so good there. But they also say, oh, we already know how to do this because of homeschool. So, I thought I ruined it for a year, but I apparently was too aggressive.
Yeah, there's definitely a very long pros and cons list to homeschooling, in my opinion. There's definitely some things about it that you literally cannot get in a public school or like a large classroom setting. And then there's things about a large classroom setting that you just cannot get from homeschooling. So I think overall, most of my friends who have had better, more rounded lives kind of did a little bit of both.
Yeah. And I think, we were very involved in homeschooling. And so there's always something that we're like, oh, how can we make this a learning opportunity? And on Wednesday, the kids, their school is remote every Wednesday because it was half day before, and now they're just fuck it, let's just do remote. So every Wednesday they don't have to wake up early, but that was when the impeachment was happening, and they were homeschooled for the last impeachment, and we made them sit there and take notes and why is this happening and what is this? And so they were like, are you going to make us take notes again? Please don't make us take notes. But we did have to sit and watch through it. So
I remember those days. It's like, we're gonna go on a fun tour of a museum that would have been interesting, but instead we're gonna take twice as long and write everything we saw down, and then write a 10-page report when we get home.
make it work. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, as you might remember, I usually like to start off the show with kind of your political testimony, but you've been here before and already kind of told yours. So I'm curious, what is the biggest change you've made to your core life philosophy in the last year?
In the last year, I think I've not become more libertarian. That's kind of like how do you judge that? But I have significantly stopped caring as much about what other people think. I still think about in my head, why are you doing that? I still care about what other people do, but not in a way, and not in a way that's judging, So I think because I was feeling maybe a little too wrapped up into what other people were thinking, when there's so much else going on that I need to be focusing on. And so it's just
Right.
kind of been a year of IDGAF about like a lot of I don't know if maybe that's because of COVID. Like there's so much other stuff that is important, you know, being stuck all together, like just being a family really, I don't know, it kind of shaped things a little differently.
Yeah, for sure. 2020 was a very weird year. But a lot of my friends complained the whole time, and December rolled around and everyone was posting on Facebook like, I can't wait for this year to be over. Such a terrible year. I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I met a lot of people. I also kind of consider 2020 to have started in like November of 2019. So I consider like you and your husband to be part of like the 2020 people I met, because like New Hampshire was kind of the start of my year, and rolled into just all sorts of other things and other opportunities and new friends and faces, and it was, I don't know, I can't complain really.
Yeah, no, it sucked, but it wasn't like, I don't know, we bought a house, we did all this work to the house, we got to spend so much time with the kids. And we have a yard. We have a huge yard now. So, it's just nice to be able to be outside. And we did a lot more baking. I gained 15 pounds. I'm not even proud of it, but a lot of that time we were in our smaller apartment, and it would just be like, you know how big it was. You walk from the couch to the kitchen, and that's it. But here there's like 3 flights of stairs. And so, I've already lost the pounds living in the house.
There you go.
But we were constantly cooking, constantly eating, just being together, and still homeschooling at that most of that time. But there was a lot of missed opportunities too. Like my sister had a baby in January, and that was obviously pre-COVID. And I flew down to see her in January, the day the baby was born. Actually, just that was the day that I had a flight down to visit her, and then I couldn't stay away from him, which is weird because I have my own children and I love them dearly, but I'm not like the kind of person that, let me hold your baby. I'm not a baby person. But I couldn't leave my sister. I was like crying. I said, I never felt like love like this for any other child. I think I want to steal your baby. And please, if anything happens to you, I would like to raise my own. And she was like, holy shit. So I went down in February again. I couldn't go in March because that was when COVID was happening, and we were like, oh, okay, nobody can go anywhere, right? But then I ended up flying several other times during the year because it actually it's unsafe to fly. But yeah, that was a good thing too, like being able to be with my sister and family and just, missed opportunities. We didn't get to go on vacation. That's what I was going to say. That was sad, but woo-hoo, first world problems, right?
Right. Yeah, I traveled more this year than I have in the last almost 10 years. I worked in 14 states in 2020.
Jeez. You were doing that. You were working with that other organization for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I was like 5 of those states were for Tulsi, and then probably another 6 or 7 were for Young Americans for Liberty, and then a couple other candidates and petitions and other jobs throughout the year. It was, I've always been kind of a bouncing around person, and I don't maintain jobs very long, and that's just kind of been my adult life. But this year was something completely different. It was a new thing every like 3 to 6 weeks, and it was insane. And I kind of loved it because politics is fun.
Young.
Right. Yeah, everybody was. I was talking to a couple of people that were like, "How are you like going out there and doing all of this? Like, when are you gonna like settle down?" And I'm like, "I'm 23. I just turned 24 like 2 weeks ago. Like, I don't need to settle down. I don't need a career and a 9 to 5 yet.
No.
I don't know if I ever want one."
No, settling down. I didn't have like my first real job until 2005, which I'm dating myself, but I was like 25 and 24, depending on what time of year. And I didn't even start dating Nick until 2005 also. And we didn't get married until we were 30. So there's no reason, like, because you're going to have to be like settling down, not doing stuck in your house with COVID with kids for 9 months.
Right. Yeah, I got to my sister has now 3 children and has kind of been a cautionary tale for me a little bit of like what happens when you make snap decisions on creating a family. And like I love my nephew and my nieces and my brother-in-law dearly, but there was definitely a lot of rush in that. My sister was married and pregnant within a year of meeting my husband or her husband.
Woo.
Yeah. and then 2 more kids within 3 years of that. And yeah, so they have a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Oh gosh, that sounds good. I only did that because it was old or older.
Yeah, it's definitely it's caused some stress that could have been avoided. And so yeah, I definitely want to make sure that I'm like have my shit together before I have to like feed another human.
Yeah, at least mentally, like,
Right.
Be ready.
Yeah, I'm definitely not mentally prepared to teach a youngling.
No.
Like, nope, don't listen to me, not yet.
No, everyone keeps asking me,
plenty more to learn.
We're gonna have another baby, and I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think 4 is a good number. Like,
4
it's a nice.
Is fine. 2 is fine, like, but 4 is fine also. We're not having 5. That's just friggin' Looney Tunes.
Yeah, doesn't sound like fun. So last time I talked to you, you were running for the LNC. You won. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Is it everything you dreamed it would be?
There's days where I'm like, why did I do this? And there's days where, like today, I got a very, very nice email. Me and 2 of my colleagues, we are on a show on Thursday nights on LPTV called Libertarians at Large. All of the Libertarian at Large candidates or representatives should be on it, but 2 of them haven't made it yet due to scheduling conflicts. So I shouldn't say it's just us 3, but the person wrote a thank you note. Usually, the LNC gets hate mail, and that's it. And we're like, you need to be more Republican or whatever. Thank you so much for doing your show. It was so wonderful. Thank you for being so accessible. I'm glad that I switched parties. And I was like, oh man, that was this person's first dealing, even though they were just watching us talk to each other, their first dealings with actual libertarians. And we made him happy. We solidified his decision that he came to the right party. So I was really like, just, those days are not as frequent as days where you're like, but it makes it worth it. So
I can see that. I definitely have gotten to witness a little bit more as I've gotten more involved with the Libertarian Party exactly how much hate there is for the establishment. And I mean, it kind of comes with the job. You're trying to wrangle like anti-authoritarian, like individualists. It's like it doesn't make sense. The Libertarian Party is like a kind of anomaly logically. So
guide. We're just guiding. We're not telling people what to do.
Yeah, I think it's become more and more apparent, especially over this year with COVID and all of the other like huge opportunities that we've had to kind of preach libertarianism this year to people that normally would have been completely against it. I've found that the most important piece of our messaging is that individual responsibility and individual liberty kind of combined, and live and let live. And how you were talking earlier about just caring just a little bit less about how other people live and think, and caring a little bit more about how you live and how you think, and improving yourself. And I think a lot of people did that this year because they had to. They were stuck in their house, cut off from their friends and from their job, and they learned how to do yoga or bake or knit or something like that. And a lot of people went on a self-discovery journey this year, and I think you can see it even on social media that like people are a little bit nicer and a little bit less divisive. Twitter is kind of productive now.
Is it?
I mean, it has been for me over the last couple of weeks. We've been kind of pushing this message of liberty, unity, and kind of getting kind of left and right libertarians to not get along or be friends, but just spend less time hating on each other and more time marketing to the people that are open to libertarianism and are closer to them ideologically. So the right messages to the right, the left messages to the right or to the left, and we just kind of exist simultaneously, and we don't have to fight, and we don't have to purge, and we don't have to take over and kick people out and do all of this crazy shit. We just kind of we have to grow the party because 1% is not okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's catching on though. So that's been kind of a huge blessing of 2021. That's been almost entirely just within this year. A kind of shift of some of the most obnoxious and divisive people in the liberty movement, like kind of starting to shut up and just exist and be nice to people.
I've not seen that yet, but
at least with some people. There's unfortunately not everyone's kind of in on this, and we haven't gotten the message of don't retaliate hasn't quite gone through to everyone. The message of don't instigate is like almost there with some of these people, but like the don't retaliate is a whole different thing. So we have some instigators and then some retaliators, and then it's still a problem, but but we're making ground, I think, and it's I'd like to see it continue and to see more people work together and spend less time fighting within the party.
Yeah. I mean, fighting though brings ideas that you didn't know needed to be discussed sometimes too. So there's good and bad, but fighting for fighting's sake is stupid.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think that one of the things that I've tried to talk about in this, and I've had a couple other people on this show to talk about this, other people that helped start this movement, and it's not about like just blind acceptance. We're not part of the duopoly where it's just like team sports. If somebody's doing shitty stuff, if somebody's posting like racist propaganda or cutting people down for no reason, we still call them out. It's not just like blind acceptance. It's a mutual respect that makes that calling out actually land when it happens, rather than just sound like more team sports coming from the other caucus, and because I think that's what we saw a lot of in the LP, especially this year, was just as it got more divisive, it was no real critiques were being heard, and everyone kind of thought that they were perfect. And I fell into that as well, because I was getting attacked by the Mises caucus left and right, and I just kind of blew them off and didn't listen to anything that they were saying. But in reality, some of their critiques were accurate, and I needed to change my messaging in a couple of ways. But obviously not all of it was accurate, because they were calling me a communist, and obviously that's not true. But at the same time, I was coming back with, well, you're a racist, and that's also not true. So it's not helpful
necessary in any event, but yeah, I'm not there yet. So
yeah, I definitely understand that. There have been a lot of people very, very hesitant to the message, because it's there's a lot of bad blood, and I get that. And I had a lot of hate for a lot of people in the LP on both sides of this kind of war, and I've gone after Larry Sharp, and I've gone after Dave Smith, and I've gone, I've created enemies kind of throughout the party not intentionally necessarily. Sometimes it was, more accidental or instigated by others, or I was kind of brought into conversations I didn't mean to be in, but kind of squashing some of those beefs and being able to work with some of those people again has been, of those friendships. And
Oh, we froze. I'm frozen.
oh, there we go.
Okay.
Sorry about that. My Wi-Fi here is not always the best.
Oh, yes. That's strong. Yeah, no, I don't think that I've ever gone after anybody because I don't care, I don't care. People are publicly saying like they're not going to vote for me, even though they have no idea what I've done so far this term that started in July. They have no idea what I've done. They have no idea how much money I've raised. They have no idea how many hours I put into calling donors and calling monthly pledgers or anything like that. But they're just not going to vote for me. Fine, don't vote for me. That's fine. If you want to ask me what I've done, then we can talk. But I'm the chairwoman of the Affiliate Support Committee, and my only goal this year, or this term, I guess ends next year, is to get the bond between the affiliates and national a little more cohesive, but still leaving them as their own autonomous bodies, because that's how the bylaws are written. But just so that they know that they can count more on support from national, which has been lacking for the entire time the LP has been around.
Right.
And we're doing a lot of great things there. We're going to get at least 50 new affiliates this year in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, when you say affiliates, do you mean like county organizations or state? Okay.
Yeah. We have one every state in DC, and we are going to be onboarding Guam soon.
Nice.
Guam. Maybe it's not Guam. I have to look. I'm sorry. I've been messaging the gal. Oh, I can't remember where she is. I think it is Guam. So yeah, we're about to have a American territory too. But yeah, county level, and so I wasn't counting that one because she's already in the process. Like, she wanted to start an affiliate before we even started this term. 50 county, city, whatever level, under state level. Like West Virginia, 0 affiliates, and so they're excited to get a couple in there this year. And I think Idaho doesn't have any also. And the chair of Idaho, is it Idaho? Yeah, I think so. I think they don't have any affiliates, just the state. So they're excited. Everybody's excited to get New Jersey. New Jersey has their own plan to get 21 brand new affiliates in their own state. New Jersey's big. Yeah. So everybody's like very excited about this. And I have been talking to all the state chairs, like every 2 months or so, I go through and either text them all or call them all and see if they need anything, what's going on. And, now they're all starting to change over. Ohio just got their new board in, and I spoke to them on Monday. So just trying to keep up with that and letting them know, hey, we're here. Let's get this done. So. Yeah,
that's awesome. That is, I mean, that's one of the main things that you were talking about in your campaign, was kind of being able to rely on national. One of the things that I really liked about your campaign, there were 2 things that really stuck out. It was that, and then making it a little bit more family friendly, and that's something that I thought was extremely important, because I also don't want to go to like an all dudes club in the back room of a bar all the time. Like, that's not really my scene either. So like, let's do other things. And that was something that really resonated with me. Unfortunately, I wasn't a delegate and didn't get to vote for you, but I'm glad that you won. But I'm curious, what is something that you have been trying to champion that just kind of hasn't been getting a lot of traction, either within the party or within the LNC itself?
So I have a email appeal in for a kind of a refer a friend, and this goes back to the women and families, where we are going to target women who join the party from like October to December, because if they joined at that time, they likely joined because of Joe.
Mhm.
and as a woman. So if you're joined because of this woman, you're a woman. And then contact them and say, hey, thanks for joining. The reason that I ran was because I wanted more women, children, families at a friendly level in this party, and you're making my job easier. If you refer a friend, we'll send her a personalized email, and if she joins, then we'll give you a pin. And I know we have like a bunch of the I'm with her shirts left over. And so we could send the friend who signs up an I'm with her shirt, because then it's like a double entendre, like I'm with her, who's my friend, and I'm with her, the Statue of Liberty. And so that I thought it was a great idea, and it really hasn't gone anywhere. But I have the whole plan written out, so I probably should follow up on it, but it's out there. And I keep telling people, like, I have this email in, I have an appeal into the development team, but it's going bonkers right now with everybody switching parties. The friggin', like, the phone lines are blowing up. We're getting emails every day about people joining, like, constantly.
That's fantastic. That's a great problem to have.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, we'll probably get some women in that way too. So
there you go. I think I know Twitter is kind of a cesspool of terrible awfulness, but I've even seen on there a lot of people talking about oh yeah, I just switched my party registration over. How do I get involved? I've been able to hook people up with like county chairs through Twitter and stuff like that. And, even people that I worked with in Yale texted me this week, 2 different people that I campaigned with. It was like, all right, it's official. I'm a libertarian now.
Oh, good.
And I was like, yes. Woo! So, it's people are waking up to this message and getting fed up with the duopoly, and it's awesome. I'm like really excited to see it. Yeah.
And our poor, outreach team is inundated right now. That's why the people are asking on Twitter. So we have 2 people that call new members, and generally, like, most people don't answer the phone because they don't recognize the number. But they say, hey, welcome to the party. Thanks for joining the national level. You need to, if you want to get involved locally, join your state. You might even have a county party. And then they send them a follow-up email with the links and everything in there, but they're not able to get to some of those people until like 3-4 weeks after they join, because right now it's like crazy town coming in. So that's that's also a good problem to have, but so they're doing the job. They're doing the follow-up, but it's a little slow right now because there's so many people, and there's only a couple people helping with that and so many hours in the day. So,
do you guys need help with that? Like, are you guys delegating that at all, where volunteers could kind of come in and help, or are you trying to keep that within the LNC? Like, so it's the people at the top that are reaching out.
It's paid staff that does it. So I don't know if it's because it's like some kind of, you would have to sign an NDA or something. I don't know.
That would make sense. Yeah, there's a lot of politics and paperwork. The amount of NDAs I signed this year was also a ridiculous thing.
I know. I'm like, didn't I already sign one? And they're like, that was for the Joe campaign. I'm like, I don't even remember doing anything for her, but okay.
Paper. I refuse to sign paperwork like that now. It's like, honestly, I haven't signed an NDA the last 3 campaigns I worked on, and I'm kind of sticking to that as long as I can, because I've gotten bit in the ass into the finance world with contracts and NDAs and stuff like that, and non-competes. So, I don't really trust politicians any more than I trust finance executives. So, so what would you say to someone who lives in a county where there isn't an affiliate and wants to get one going?
Oh, I would say that they should, if they had a friend, that would be helpful, because then they could just have somebody else that they could help, get the party started. But all the states have these different rules and regulations and who you sign up with. And unfortunately, it's a political party, so you have to follow specific rules for that. In New Hampshire, the Secretary of State. In Montana, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a 15-word department. In Montana, because Francis Wendt is on my committee, and he was telling me it's not just the Secretary of State. Some states have crazy things. So you have to go and check with them what you need to become recognized. But generally, if you live in a state with a competent chair, they're able to give you probably like a printout or, some step-by-step things. This is how you set up your affiliate. And some of them you have to register with the FEC, some of them you don't. So if you're really, really like, let's do it, maybe talk to the state chair first, see what you have to do, and then find some friends, which is the hardest part, because what do you just go around, especially now, like you can't go to a bar and be like, hey, do you like libertarians?
Yeah, not with them all closed. That makes it a little bit difficult.
Yeah. And you can't really like hang out in front of City Hall and do that anymore. So unless you knew people that were, like, let's get together and let's do this. And that's how a lot of the counties start, with just a husband and a wife and like 2 other people,
Right.
And, so hopefully this summer there's a lot more outdoor activities and outreach and stuff, because we missed all the fairs and the what do you call them, the like festivals.
Yeah. I'm hoping to actually go to some this year. I was gonna go to some of them for the first time last year. I had plans to go to both Freedom Fest and Pork Fest in 2020 for the first time, and they didn't go to either one.
Yeah.
So hopefully 2021, both of those events are actually up and running, and I'll be back up in New Hampshire for them.
Well, Freedom Fest is like in South Dakota this year, or in 2021. They moved it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because it's that's where it is this year. Yeah, and Pork Fest has moved. It's still in the same location, but the dates have changed because another event was happening at the campground. So it's at the end of July and the end of June instead of July 4th. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will definitely be doing my best to make it back up. Hopefully I'll be back up in New Hampshire actually in 2 weeks. Because
really?
there's a training, like candidate training seminar in Manchester, as well as your y'all's convention is the same weekend. So hopefully I'm trying for 3 weeks, right?
Our convention is March 19th.
March 19th. Okay.
Like, don't
there's something else going on libertarian wise on the like 23rd or something. I don't know. There was other events going on that wanted me to go to New Hampshire. So but we'll see. I've been trying to make it to New Hampshire since I left there in March, and I have not.
Well, it's all still here.
Most of it. Well, so I'm curious. You've been talking about the affiliate committee, and that you're reaching out. On top of that, what's going on in 2021 that's really got you excited for this year? I mean, either within the LP or outside of it.
I don't even know what else is going on right now, because that's all I do.
I hear that.
I am on 2 chairs advisory boards, on the the IS committee, the Information Services Committee, and I chair the Affiliate Support Committee. I'm also on the Convention Planning Committee for the state of New Hampshire convention. So I'm busy right now. But what's exciting? For the LP, we're going to launch our big contest for the Affiliate Support Committee. It's going to be humongous. It's going to be very well received, I'm sure, for the Affiliate in the Box contest. And we are going to put it all out for everybody. Any affiliate, so state, county, city, whatever, every affiliate is invited to participate. And they will have a budget of $250 to make the best affiliate in a box. So, like, there's things that some of us don't even think about that should be in a vital box for a brand new affiliate. Like what the best kinds of pens are. I was talking to Dad about somebody. I would just buy pens, right? Because I don't do a lot of affiliate stuff. But you don't want a pen with a lid, because then you lose all the lids. So you want clicker pens, and there's specific clicker pens that are the best pens. And so there's going to be a lot of detail, and a lot of people pay a lot of attention to those details. So we're going to do that. And then, let everybody do their submissions, and my committee will anonymize them. And we have a hardcore grading rubric with 5 categories that we are going to grade on and assign each section a number for each single submission, and then we'll collaborate on all of them and give everybody an average score. Like it's very serious. But the winning affiliate gets $1,000.
Wow.
That's a lot of money. And then when that's over, we're going to do our scholarship of giving 50 brand new affiliates the box. So I'm on the mission right now to raise the rest of the money, because I have raised the money to pay for the prize, but I have not raised the rest of the money to pay for the boxes. And so that is my constant, like, wake up in the middle of the night, like, oh my gosh, I need to find $15,000 right now.
So how can people donate to that?
Oh, if you go to lp.org, and on the bottom right, I believe, I have to look at the website, there's the affiliate support fund. So let me see, I can put the where is it? Oh, I should just look at my email, because it's in my Gmail signature on the LP. That could be the link. Yeah, we got a pretty good donation. A lot of donations come in from the email that was sent out at the end of the year. So now I'm just trying to get the rest of all the money that I need. I'm confident, but it's always on my mind.
I hear that. Fundraising is a blessing and a curse, because it's fun when it works, but it never quite works the way you want it to, and that's always super stressful.
Yeah, like I got an email. I'm gonna give this. I got an email yesterday from somebody who I had asked, and they had said, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is bad timing with COVID, and job's not looking good right now." And I was like, okay, that's fine. If you need anything in the future, just let me know, and anything I can do, I can help you. And then they responded, you know what? I am going to make a donation. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so then I was like waiting. I'm like, when is it going to come in? And so I'm like sitting there like, okay, any minute I'm going to get like a notice that like this large donation came in. And so Nick's like, you never wait for fundraising. So I'm like trying to forget that conversation even happened, and then just be surprised if it happens, because I'm getting my hopes set up. So, but I do have to make some phone calls next week, more important phone calls, to try and get that. Because it's just going right back to the affiliates. It's not like it gets, all of us are volunteers. So.
Right. Yeah, I think that was one of the lessons I learned early on with campaigning, because I did not raise a lot of money when I campaigned for city council. And it was definitely from a severe lack of trying.
Yeah.
Like there's no one to blame but myself for how little money I raised in that campaign. Even though at the time I was kind of blaming other people, because I was like, I had friends in the LP. I was going to all these meetings. I was out. I was talking about my campaign. I was asking people to donate. I was like posting donation links on Facebook, and I was like, no one's donating. Like actually, like 2 members of the LP donated to the campaign, and that was it. And I was like, this is crazy. And one of them I wouldn't have even considered like a good friend. He's more of an acquaintance. And so, but I also like wasn't actually asking people to their face, or talking about what I was going to be doing with that money, or really getting people excited about my campaign. I was just kind of talking about my campaign and expecting people to be interested and want to give money, and just kind of waiting around, looking at my donation email, and just like after I sent out a link, just like waiting for someone to donate, and no one donated, because I wasn't like actually actively looking for donations. I was just fake campaigning.
I feel like that's a problem with a lot of people. I was going to say libertarians, but I don't know, because I'm only around libertarians, if it's just us or not. But it drives me crazy, because people say, why won't anyone help me? Why won't anyone do this? Why won't anyone do that? And I'm like, did you even ask? Did you ask anybody? Or are you just saying, why won't anybody do this? Or even like in our state Facebook group, people will say, someone needs to fix this. Someone needs to fix this issue on the website, instead of like just saying, hey, chair, can you fix this? You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
like it's Henny Penny, right? Is that who
Yeah.
it is? Or the little red hen. Who will help me do this? Not I, not I. Like, you just have
Right.
to ask a person, can you do this? Can you give me
Mhm.
$500 for this affiliate in the box program that I want to do?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on getting people a little bit better at asking. One of the projects that I've taken on over the last couple of weeks, and it's been very slow to get up and working, but I'm trying to compile a list of volunteer needs within the LP, specifically within New York to kind of start out with. There's like 15 or so campaigns that I know of this year. And so what I'm trying to get from their campaign managers or from the candidates is like an actual like job description for a volunteer, not just I need someone to help me with my social media.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's not a job description. I need what are you going to call them? What do you want them to do? Who are they going to report to? And
Is it a volunteer? Or are you going to pay? Is there any kind of
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Is this
the more quality people you're going to get. Because if somebody's like, oh, I can help with social media, that's the kind of help you're going to get. Somebody who's like, I can do it.
yeah. Exactly. And I've definitely I've seen throughout my time in the LP and like myself included, plenty of times where I'm kind of sitting around twiddling my thumbs going, I wish I could, help, but I don't know what to do. Like, I mean, right now, I'm doing this. I'm doing, the Liberty Unity stuff. I'm trying to work on the volunteer list. But other than that, there's a lot of time in my day, and I'm just kind of still at home for the holidays, and it's kind of extended because there's still COVID and not much going on. And I see this all over, within my friend groups and on Twitter and Facebook and all over the place of people that were like, I would love to help Joe, but I just don't know what to do. And so I'm hoping that, we can help funnel these people into, actual volunteer roles that get them engaged and excited and involved in the LP instead of just on an email list.
Right. And I think obviously, like, as not even just as the chairperson of the affiliate support committee, but the affiliates are where it needs to start, right? Because National's got it covered. I have 200 applications to look at for people who want to volunteer to be on the Internet Services or Information Services Committee, which is like, what? All the glitz and the glam that come with the IS committee. Oh, you guys are knocking down the door. 200 people applied to be on this committee. And it's like, are you kidding? Like, I know we're a lot of like introverts and people who do computery stuff, but I just was shocked because I think 15 people applied to be on the awards committee, right? So it's like, that seems like it would be more fun. So people are dying to volunteer, but there's a limited number of national volunteer positions, right? But for the state of New Hampshire, the CRM has been a little wonky, and that's also part of my umbrella of projects, fixing the CRM, which is affiliate support and the IS committee. But it's been a little wonky. And so people who are supposed to be up for renewals for their state memberships are not getting the notices. And so that's something that all people could do in their states. Ask their chair, hey, do you want to give me the phone numbers for the lapsed members? And I'll start calling people and just tell them, hey, they also have their email address on there. So if you're not like really into phone calls, but you want to do a phone call, then an email, like that information is there. You just have to ask for it. And, so maybe some people are like, I don't want you to have that information, but you've been around long enough. They're not going to think you're like selling their names to some dark web stuff.
I should hope not. I mean, if that's the vibe I give out, that would, I'd be intrigued as to why that is.
Selling personal information.
Yeah. I mean, I did start investing in cryptocurrency, so I'm like definitely going down the dark path now. Yeah, that's how my dad saw it when I first told him that I bought Bitcoin. And now he owns he owns more than I do. And I was like, yes, victory.
Oh, good. Tell him make sure he leaves it in your in his will to you.
For sure. Yeah, so I'm assuming not every state has an IS committee. Is that correct?
Definitely not. I would say like definitely not. But
Mhm.
they have somebody who works with the CRM. So you've got somebody who
Okay.
can. I mean, I don't know. Like I keep going back to West Virginia because Dave Valente is the chair of West Virginia and he's on the affiliate support committee. So I know I'm familiar with West Virginia, but they're the only affiliate. They're about to start a county level affiliate, but I don't think they have a IT person on their state committee, and I think it might just be him, and that's fine, But he's good with computers, so
Mhm.
and actually, I think. Oh wait, I'm not sure. I don't think I can say anything about that yet. But then there's larger states like California that has an outsourced IT department, but they don't use the CRM. So,
Yeah, California is a little bit on kind of a next level than a
their
lot of the other states.
own country because they have so much going on over there.
Yeah, one of my good friends from New York City moved to New York and joined the LP like a week or two before I did,
Mm-hmm.
and moved there from San Francisco and was a member of the state committee there, and very involved in the party there, and quickly got involved in the party in New York. And just talking to her, she I don't know if you watch Magic School Bus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming, like the one girl who was always like my old school, like
Oh, right.
that was her the whole time. It was like if we were still in California, this would have been done by now, like
Oh,
all the time. And it was a little bit annoying, but also a little bit inspirational because it was kind of like a challenge. And the thing that made it positive was that she was actively working to make New York like California and like work better, and she wasn't just complaining that other people weren't better. And
Yeah.
so I supported her for chair in Manhattan. She's now the vice chair. They're building up in New York City better than they really ever have been. So I'm excited to see what we do in New York this year. We've got a solid mayoral candidate, some pretty solid city council candidates. So yeah, New York's going to be fun, very fun this year.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, no, the one of the state chair of Idaho now, she was the county chair in, gosh, I can't remember. Any county in California is huge, but when I was talking to her, she's like, "Yeah, we moved here, and they ended up changing the bylaws so that I could become chair. They'd only been there for like 6 weeks or something, and they nominated her for chair." And I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." And she's like, "Yeah, the county I was chair of had 3 million people in it, so like Idaho has like, 1 million people in the whole state." So
Right.
they were like, "You're fine."
Yeah, I had Joe Evans on the show a couple weeks ago, and he ran for Congress out in Idaho, and he was talking very, very highly of the state chair out there.
Yeah,
that they're crushing it.
Yeah, she's fun. She's funny. She's very like, she's just like, there was nothing was happening in Idaho, and she's like totally turned it around. And so, yeah, they're doing great out there. It's good. It's inspirational.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how you hear stories about like one person being able to just like change the entire politics in a state, and we're watching that happen a little bit here in the LP of like one person just says, okay, I'm not just going to let my state crumble into this duopoly bullshit or monopoly in a lot of states, because I mean in New York, the Republican Party's a joke. So people actually stepping up and finally saying like, all right, I'm not going to let this happen anymore. What can we do? How can we grow the party? How can we bring people in? And give it a year or two, and we're going to see huge change in the politics within some of these states. Even if it's just some people in the state legislature, that's a big deal.
I think
so
as long as the people are capable and aren't totally crazy, then every single person that's volunteering to run should be supported by their state.
Yeah, I think that's something that is sorely lacking, and I think it is definitely something that I've become more sympathetic about as I've gotten more involved with the party, because like you were talking about, there's just so much going on. You
Yeah.
can't you can't also as a member of the LNC care about every single candidate that's running in the country
Yeah.
as well, right? Like it's just not mentally possible
Yeah. Right.
for
And
any
like,
human to care that much.
anytime anybody's like, hey, so and so is running for this, even if it's like something goofy like waterboard, I
Mhm.
like their page as my page so that I can follow along and see like what's going on.
Mhm.
Because you never know when they're going to need something, or when they they get lucky and the opponent drops out or whatever. There's
Mhm.
always something, and then like we need to be there ready to help at that moment, the moment that they need the help, instead of where they're like, nobody from the LP ever even contacted me. So
Right.
but and I know I'm not the only one. I'm not the only person watching trying to watch everything. But if we're
Right.
all looking at it all together all the time, then there's less getting missed, because and that's good. That's a good problem to have. There's like 800 people running all the time.
Mhm.
I mean, this will
Yeah.
get slower, thank God.
Yeah, I think that's one of the bigger parts of the like no libertarian under 1,000 movement on Twitter, of like trying to get everyone to follow each other, so we could know what was going on in each other's lives and where we needed help and how we could, do you have a podcast that I can listen to, or at least like and share the videos? Are you running for office? Do you have a friend that is, like, what's going on? Um, and I think what happened was everyone followed each other and realized that we didn't all agree on stuff, and everyone started fighting instead of doing what we meant to do.
That's why I didn't even try that. I'm like, no, there's too many people out there that want to like, tell me I'm a bad person for no apparent reason. So it's not in there.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
there
I
for
definitely. Your husband gave me some advice about Twitter while I was there for Thanksgiving, and he said,
I
"Don't
wouldn't,
respond to." What was that?
wouldn't take advice from him.
Well, there was one piece that I have, and it was he said don't respond to any negative comments from someone that has less followers than you. And
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay, I can. That's a rule of thumb that for the most part I've stuck with, unless it was like good critique. If it was
Yeah.
just random trolling from someone with 11 followers, it's not worth my time or my energy, and I just get to ignore it. And I've noticed that that's what most of the trolls are just like random sock accounts with like an anime profile picture and like 12 followers. And I'm like, okay, you're like, what are you doing? Like,
And they're
go
probably
annoy
like
someone else.
14, you know, um,
Right.
like just
No, probably they're 45. That's the worst part.
they're edgelords, 45-year-old edgelords. Like, I'll show this guy who has 115 followers.
Right. It's like it was extremely apparent when I started to run for office, because I started getting trolled all over the place for like being quote unquote part of the problem, because I was like, by running for office I was like giving legitimacy to the authoritarian system that is the New York City like government, and all of this stuff. And I was like, how do you see an end result here, unless you're gonna like start shooting or shut up, like.
Yeah, like we can't being submissive and just allowing things to happen around you is no better than trying to fight to change things.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's so many like quotes. I've shared a couple of them on Instagram this week about just liberty needs to be fought for at every turn. Like almost every good president understood that. Almost every founding father that helped create this government understood that, like, if you don't be careful, this shit's gonna run away from you and you're going to be fucked. And like that's the reality of government. And they understood that. And there's plenty of critiques to be had of like Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, but they definitely understood the basic concept of like it's a necessary evil that will inherently corrupt all things that it touches, and you have to keep it in check.
Yeah, we were actually talking about that kind of last night on our Libertarians at Large show. Is sometimes we get trolls, obviously, because it's live and it's on Facebook and YouTube at the same time, and so some people, especially on YouTube, just have nasty things to say. But they're like, you shouldn't even be elected because you're part of the problem. I thought libertarians wanted freedom and smaller government, and you're your own government. And we're like, okay, well, we are, but at the same time, we're also recognize that this government has gotten so huge and out of control. If we even like brought every single troop home right now, which is what we want, but if we actually did that, there would be massive collapse like everywhere. So it's not something that you can just flip a switch and it's done, right? It's something that slowly has to be scaled back. And, that's same for healthcare. Obamacare is frigging out of control and everybody's premiums are through the roof. But we can't just be like, okay, well, we can't have Obamacare anymore. It has to be taken back a lot, and things have to be changed. And we can go on for like 6 hours about that. But we can't just be like pull the plug on something that people are actually relying on because we're libertarians, we're compassionate. Even though we don't want government involvement, we can't just like leave people out on the streets at this point because they've become accustomed to it. So it's little changes that chip away, chip away. Just like they say, they're chipping away at our freedom. We need to chip away at the freedoms that they've taken away and get it back. And you can't. In all honesty, if I could flip a switch and do it and nothing would be broken, I would do that. But we have to be reasonable people, and we have to change it in a manner that benefits everybody, and then in the long game benefits like the entire society. Right.
That's why I eventually ended up choosing to join the Pragmatic Caucus because, of all of the choices that there were of caucuses to join, that was the one where the people were sane for the most part.
Well, I'm braggadocious, and I don't know if everybody knows that because
You're what?
Braggadocious because I actually have a lot of audacious thoughts as well, but the way that I present the ideas is more pragmatic.
I like that. I might steal that word.
They endorse me, even though I'm like not waving a dildo around and I'm wearing a cardigan, But we all have our inner dialogues and monologues or whatever that guide us. But yeah, no, the way I present my ideas and lay them out is a little bit more pragmatic. But that doesn't mean, I think some people think that means washed out or diluted, and I think you're realizing that that's not the case either. So.
Yeah, I definitely I think that there is some credibility to someone that wants Ancapistan to be a thing, Adam Kokesh's dissolve the government, return all the power to the states except for like borders and military, kind of like that might be what you want, but you can't do it by electing Adam Kokesh and having him be the only libertarian member of government and just flipping a switch. It's not going to work like that. So, you like you said, you have to kind of chip away at the authoritarianism that exists. And maybe eventually we get to Ancapistan. Maybe we don't, because
it's happening daily. That's working right now, and education is a big problem. It's all a problem, really, right? But education is so overfunded and so broken, and all the liberals want to do is just keep throwing more money at it, and that's not working. In New Hampshire, they just passed a lot of or is it a bill? The bill that stops funding the schools and funds the child, which is what it should have been doing before. So the charter school that our kids go to doesn't get any. I don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't get money from the county or the city that the child lives in. They only get it from the state. And so they each kid in public school gets like $13,000 a year or something like that. But the charter school, each kid only gets $8,000. And so they have to fundraise for the rest of it. But it's like, if this school is that good and is surviving on that much money, why can't the other schools do that? So now they're doing that wherever the child goes, the money goes instead of automatically to the school that's in the neighborhood. And that's a start.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one undeniable thing about New Hampshire is that even though your state government is like a little kooky, there's a sensibility to the decision making, and I think part of that comes from the size of it and the fact that it's a part-time legislature that's basically volunteer and they actually understand what life is. Unlike most politicians in the world. There's a lot of things that go into making New Hampshire what it is, and it turns out with low taxes, low government spending, sensible regulations, and the only thing they're really stupid about is drugs. Like they're still really stubborn about marijuana, and I don't get it. It makes no sense to me, but
it's so bizarre. So we go to Costco in Nashua, which is like a minute from Massachusetts, right? And once a month when I go to Costco, I drive into Massachusetts, like 3 miles into Massachusetts, pick up the drugs, and then drive back. And it's like I just bought all my groceries tax-free, and I just spent, a couple $100 in a neighboring state, giving them tax revenue, giving them money, when you could have just put this up here. And it's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And the thing is, when obviously we wouldn't agree with it as libertarians, but almost every state is taxing cannabis in some form, and without a state sales tax, there is definitely less revenue coming into the New Hampshire state government than some other states have. They could use a little bit, and they could also only to do a little bit. When Colorado or California originally legalized it, they put like 30% taxes on it, and it was just ridiculous amounts.
We got money back because we lived in Colorado that first year. We got money back like hundreds of dollars on our taxes because they had gotten in so much revenue in the state that they had to give people back money, not just because they had bought drugs, but because they had a surplus. And the school that Ruth was going to, it was a public elementary school, great school. They ended up being able to give every single third and up student a brand new laptop for school use. But still, at that time, that was 2010, sorry, how old was Ruth? When Ruth was 3, 2013. 2013. She was only 3 in preschool, so she didn't get anything. But back then, that was 8 years ago. And they're giving laptops for school use back then. That was a big deal. And then giving everybody money back. So they could do a very little amount. Here, the liquor stores in New Hampshire are state run. And the prices are competitive, even though there's no competition. The prices are not jacked up. They could, but they keep them low and put them by the highways so that when people coming from Massachusetts want to come and get cheap Tito's, they just have to drive up the highway. They don't have to drive off on these little roads and stuff. They're only competing with themselves, so they could still do that with marijuana and the edibles and stuff. So they're just being
I definitely my base libertarian ideals, if you told me that they had a monopoly on liquor sales and you could only buy liquor from a state store, I'd be like, oh, that's fucking stupid. But I lived there for 4 months and I was like, damn, these liquor stores are great.
Yes, because I'm from Virginia and we only have
clean, they're stocked, they're open fairly late, not as late as New York City, but that's New York City. Right. I was like, okay, these are better than back home.
Yes.
cheaper.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes. My dad, when we lived in Arizona, you could get liquor at Costco, and he would always, when he would come to visit, he would always get a handle of Tito's because it was $29.95 at Costco in Arizona and Phoenix. In the Virginia ABC store, it's like $43 for the same size. And when we got here, I was looking, and it's $29.95 in New Hampshire with no tax. And so I'm like, you got to come up here and stock up on Tito's. It's just, I hate the idea of a state-run store, but they are very reasonable and they offer competition with themselves. So it is what it is. Like, I'm not going to fight about that.
I definitely will say I went to a couple of states this year where you could just buy liquor in a grocery store and that, or like a gas station, and that is fun.
Crazy. It's so bizarre. Like Costco, Phoenix, you could buy fireworks and tequila. And I'm like, this is.
I need to go to Arizona. That's one of the states I still have yet to step foot in.
What a country.
Yeah, unfortunately, I flew to and from California, so I'm still missing like some states east of that. So like Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico. I still haven't like touched any of that area. I need to do that here pretty soon.
Yeah, got to go to Las Vegas. You should go to Las Vegas now. It's so cheap.
That is, I have a couple of friends that actually just moved there because property value there is so low right now.
Yeah.
I've heard the same thing about New York, which is why I'm probably moving back to the city here in the next month or two to help with campaigns and stuff down there. Because like rent dropped like $500-$600 a month, like across the board in the 5 boroughs. It was ridiculous.
I just read something yesterday that there's like over $1 billion of uncollected rents out right now in New York City. Like
that sounds accurate.
That's going to be bad.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you that New York has no plan.
Yeah, no.
None. You
get fined if you're homeless or something.
You actually do. Yes, that is a thing. They will fine you and take you to a homeless shelter, and you will have to stay there, like mandatorily. New York City's kind of fucked up when it comes to how they treat the homeless people.
I mean, it's fucked up all around. I was watching the thing about like if you don't give somebody their COVID vaccine when they're due, then you're going to get fined $1 million. And if you skip ahead and you get the COVID vaccine before you're supposed to, you're going to get fined $100,000. I'm like, fuck, why not just fine everybody zillions of dollars? Like none of this is going to get collected. Like what a stupid this guy.
$100,000 for getting a vaccine a couple weeks early.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, they need to fund all of their fucking ridiculous spending plans somehow, right?
Back rents that.
How else do we pay for Medicare for all while still bombing 27 countries?
Yeah. Oh, and the $15. You guys definitely have the $15 minimum wage, don't you, in New York?
In the city, upstate, I think it is 11 or 10.75, something like that. But this, anyway. Yeah. Very few people in my hometown actually make minimum wage. And then, New York City, it's $15. And I haven't made minimum wage since I was 18 years old.
Same. And back then it was $7.25.
Nice. When I started, it was $8.50.
No, that's not
something like that.
That's pretty good, actually. Like to go all that time with only $1 in between.
Yeah, actually, pretty impressive.
You know.
Yeah, when my sister started, I think it was like $7.25 or $7.50 in New York, and she's 29. So.
Yeah, it went a while. Now it's like everything is much closer together than it should be.
Mm-hmm. Well, because they're trying to get to 15. Like New York is going to be 15 by 22 or 24, something like that. They passed a bill, so like every year it goes up like $1 or $1.50. So it's just jumping and jumping and jumping ridiculously. So many companies are going out of business and leaving the state, and New York is crumbling and going to go bankrupt because we're morons.
Yeah.
So
Yes, also have the highest number of people leaving your state.
Yes, for the third year in a row, I think, something like that. Hashtag Larry Sharp 2020. Yeah, that would be, we need to get some more sensible people into government, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
What you're talking about in New Hampshire kind of gives me some hope for your state, but I have none for mine.
Yeah, there's very little here that bothers me. The mask mandate, even though I am pro-mask, I am anti-mandate, obviously.
Right.
That made me mad because people were wearing their mask, and then he did the mandate, and I was like, you really didn't need to do that, because we had been pretty stable. There was a slight surge, but it even really wasn't that bad. And now we're at the fourth day in a row with a double-digit decrease in cases. So he's going to say, oh, look, the mask mandate worked. But I think it would have just been because people are inside and nobody's going out. So it's not but we haven't had any of the rest. But so it was kind of like a threat almost, I'm going to do this mask mandate because I don't want to shut down any businesses. Mm-hmm. So nothing's shut down. Everything's open. Everything's available for indoor dining and takeout. Most people are just doing takeout anyway because that's what they're choosing, and that's fine too. But he just extended the damn mandate today, because today was when it was going to expire, to March 26th. And I was like, oh my God, that's a long time. But that'll be when all the school kids or the kids that choose to get vaccinated, they'll all be done. All the phase 1 people will be done by then, and the kids and school teachers will all be done by then. So I think that's probably the largest, most vulnerable group, and so it will make more sense. But still, I didn't agree with the mask mandate, and that was the only thing that Sununu has actually done that I didn't really agree with. And he's a Republican, but he's generally, I think he was voted the most libertarian-leaning governor in the United States, so it makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. As long as it wasn't Kristi Noem, because she's a bitch.
And recalling that marijuana legalization.
Oh my God. That was awful.
Oh my gosh, so crazy.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the mask mandate as a threat, because in New York, they didn't even hesitate to frame lockdowns as a threat. Over Christmas and New Year's, there were signs up all over the highways and state roads everywhere that said avoid lockdowns, party safely.
Oof. Don't make us lock you down.
Right.
Okay.
Literally. It was literally don't fuck up, or we're going to have to go all authoritarian and crazy on you, and it'll be your fault.
And then you're going to raise the minimum wage to businesses that are already struggling to stay open. Sounds like a great idea. No.
Thanks,
we traveled for Thanksgiving, and the going into that, we knew the school had asked if you go out of New England, because New England is its own little bubble of mostly safeness. If you leave New England, we can't monitor all states and say this is a hotspot, this isn't. When you come back, you have to have your child be remote for 2 weeks to self-quarantine. And so we made the decision to travel for Thanksgiving, and we came back, and I was like, oh, this is fine. It's just 2 weeks of remote, but it's right before Christmas. But then the school decided that they were all going to go remote so that the teachers could have a chance to self-quarantine before they visited their own families, which I respect. But so that meant our kids were home doing remote schoolwork from Thanksgiving until January 5th, right? And so I was like, you have to leave, because it's remote school is not homeschooling. Mm-mm. It's horrible. And I understand why everybody was dragging their feet about it while we were doing fun homeschool stuff, and they were all on Zoom meetings for 8 hours a day. So I get it. But my birthday's Friday, next Friday. Right. And Nick said, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I was like, oh, can we go to Disney World? Because it's so cheap right now. It's open. Nobody's there, right? We have flight credits on Southwest. It's a direct flight. Can we go? And he's like, yeah, let's go. And then all the kids, yeah, we're going to go to Disney World. He goes, oh, wait, if we leave, we have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And I was like, forget it. Never mind.
Not worth it.
Yeah.
Nope.
No. If it was like a couple more months and I still didn't have PTSD from them being home and on Zooms for 4 weeks in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, my nephew is in kindergarten right now, but they are remote.
Ugh. I don't
And
even think you could do that for kindergarten. Because we have a kindergarten.
it's rough.
It's horrible.
It's rough. My sister does not have the bandwidth to handle teaching her son as well as working and raising the other two. It's just not working. Like it's ridiculous, and it looks like it's going to be like a few more months of this.
Ugh.
Like New York doesn't look like it's turning around anytime soon.
No, it doesn't.
They're loving this power and this like just terrible cesspit of ridiculousness that they've created. They're loving it.
That's nuts, though. Like here, Manchester Public Schools started doing like a staggered hybrid because they started out remote, and they started doing a staggered hybrid, and their goal was to have everybody, all grades, doing hybrid. So like going to school on certain days. I don't know because I don't have that firsthand knowledge. By like Veterans Day or something, and they did it and they got it. And then when they went on Christmas vacation, they told everybody like, we're going to go remote again. And so I was like, that sucks. So they got everybody back in, and then that's when all the cases were spiking. So they, but now they're going to start redoing the hybrid reintroduction staggering starting January 25th. So it's not like that wasn't that long to me for them. Like that's only a month where they were like, okay, we're remote again. It's not like some endless, like we have no idea when this is going to end. So I feel pretty good about that. The board of supervisors and the school board here is like, they're pretty well balanced. And they vote how the people want them to vote. So that'll be good for them. But I just, we both work from home and like all we were doing, like I wasn't even out of my pajamas until like 1 o'clock some days, because we're like, okay, 8 o'clock, you're on the Zoom, 8:15, you're on a Zoom. Okay. All right. 9:05. Wait, no, today's Tuesday. They're not on it. And so it was like constantly like running around, because we had to keep them on different floors too, because otherwise they talk to each other and like distract each other. So, one's up in the third floor, then one's in the bedroom, then one's at the kitchen table. It just was, Nick and I were so stressed out. I'm like, this is the dumbest thing to be stressed out about, honestly.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Were you missing homeschooling a little bit at that point?
Yes and no. Ava like learned to read really quickly, and she was doing these worksheets that were for like younger than what she was doing. And so I started like, well, here, read harder books. And she was reading really well for the 4 weeks there. And so her teacher said she can't read any of the books that we have in the classroom because she's ahead of them. And I was like, okay, well, that's probably because when she was bored, I was like, here, read this book. And so she was reading. But that was like the extent of any kind of homeschooling that was happening here, where I was just like, okay, I have to work. You have to do yours. Just read a book.
Yeah, I mean that's basically how I learned how to read. Was my mom taught me how to read to a decent level, and then was just like, okay, here, have a book series. There's 25 of them. Finish it.
Yeah. My kids just started reading. But the two older ones just started reading Harry Potter. But because Ruth just finished The Hobbit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
I didn't read Harry Potter until I was like 14.
I've never read Harry Potter because I don't like science fiction. And I know that's like I'm like the only libertarian that doesn't like science fiction. But then somebody's like, it's not science fiction. I'm like, I still don't want to read it. But so she read The Hobbit, but she enjoyed The Hobbit. But
how old is she?
10. I know.
Wow. Okay.
I barely watched the Hobbit movie. I was in AP English, and I just would like get the Cliff's notes and just be like, yeah, whatever. But Harry Potter scares her, so they just started reading those, and so like that's a whole, that'll take them a couple months to finish all of those. Like that'll take us through the summer.
Yeah, Harry Potter is definitely the books are darker than the movies. That's something that I noticed. It's not like much darker, like the storyline, but just like more in detail and kind of focuses more on like emotions and stuff like that. And I think the movies are, they're Disney movies basically. They're or Warner Brothers or whatever they are. They're like, kind of happy endings always, and the books are a little bit less so, especially when you get into like 5, 6, and 7.
Especially if like you're a kid with a vivid imagination that can picture those. Not like me, where I'm just like reading and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the Percy Jackson series when I was around her age.
Yeah, Joel read those.
It's all like, and I think he was reading them last year when I was there because we were talking about it.
Probably.
Those were by far my favorite books growing up. I read like every single book that guy wrote for like 4 years, and then I fell off and he kept writing, and I have a bunch of respect for Rick Riordan as an author because his books are very detailed and very accurate. There's Greek, Roman, Egyptian, and Norse series that he when I was reading him consistently, he was putting out a book in the Greek mythology and a book in the Egyptian mythology every 6 months, back and forth. So it was like a year between the books in each series, but like staggered. And they're like 300-page or like 500-page books, like with detailed, like intricate knowledge of these mythologies every like 6 months. And I'm just like, how do you contain this much information and then go off and spin off to more series with different whole storylines? And it blew my mind as like a 13-year-old who has never really been that creative.
It's like me. You watch The Simpsons, right?